Today, we're tackling a challenge that, well, pretty much every leader is grappling with right now.
Yeah, feels universal.
How to stay effective, how to stay relevant in a world that just feels like it's changing at warp speed.
Absolutely. And this deep dive, it's really all about understanding not just what leaders need to learn, but maybe more importantly, how they can actually transform.
Transform their mindsets, attitudes, behaviors.
Exactly. To lead effectively in this, well, dynamic environment, we've pulled together a really fascinating stack of sources that dig into this learning and development specifically for impactful leadership.
Okay, so let's jump right in then.
Yeah.
Why is this topic, so urgent right now? Our first source, continuous learning in the age of emerging technologies. It doesn't just suggest the pace is fast. It really hammers home the relentless speed of technological evolution.
It does, and it throws out this statistic from the World Economic Forum.
Which is pretty striking.
Yeah, a staggering 50% of employees will need reskilling by 2025.
50%.
Just to keep up.
That's half the global workforce. Just to keep pace.
And here's the real kicker, I think.
Okay.
This isn't just about the frontline staff,
Right.
It translates directly to leadership. Leaders are absolutely not exempt from this.
So they're not off the hook.
Not at all. In fact, they must prioritize their own learning journeys. The source kind of implicitly argues that leaders who don't embrace this continuous learning,
They fall behind.
worse, maybe, they're not just falling behind, they could actively become liabilities.
Liabilities, why?
Yeah, because they won't be able to spot those disruptive opportunities, the ones their agile competitors will seize.
Oh, okay. So it's the difference between just sort of surviving and actually thriving in this economy.
Precisely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's less about just acquiring a new skill set every few years.
Right.
And much more about cultivating this mindset of constant adaptation. The article calls it lifelong learning.
Exactly. And it suggests this isn't just, a nice to have for professional growth.
It's essential.
It's an absolute necessity for staying relevant, for staying competitive. It's like a core requirement now for navigating the modern landscape.
Okay. And if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
you mentioned sources on transdisciplinarity for transformation.
Yes, exactly. These show us that our traditional ways of thinking, staying in our own silos,
Right.
they just aren't enough for today's really complex societal problems. They often call them wicked problems or grand challenges.
Wicked problems. Okay.
Yeah, these aren't simple issues you can just solve easily. They're all interconnected. They defy simple answers.
So they demand new ways of thinking, new ways of producing and dealing with knowledge.
Completely new ways. The core insight here, I think, is that true innovation for these kinds of challenges, it doesn't come from a single expert tower.
Right.
It comes from dissolving those towers, building bridges, and realizing that maybe the most crucial piece of the puzzle might come from someone you never even thought to ask.
That's a powerful idea. But transdisciplinarity for transformation, that might be a new term for a lot of people.
They might, yeah.
Can you break down what that really means?
Yeah.
In a practical sense, maybe for leaders?
Sure. Essentially, it's about bringing science into society and society into science.
Oh.
It's this fundamental acknowledgement that scientists or, the traditional experts, they don't hold a monopoly on knowledge. The sources really highlight that other forms of knowledge, things often excluded, like local knowledge, practice-based insights, patient experiences, even farmers' knowledge.
Those are crucial.
Absolutely crucial for co-creating solutions that actually work, for achieving real positive societal change. It's about consciously breaking down those silos of expertise and valuing all kinds of wisdom.
And this isn't just theoretical, right? Our sources have a really compelling, maybe even surprising example with the Dutch Burns Foundation.
They do. Burn survivors actually participated in shaping the research agenda.
Which for many might sound quite unconventional.
It does, and it raises this really important question. How do you genuinely get different groups to learn from each other, to overcome those knowledge silos?
Yeah, how do they do it?
Well, in this specific case, they used something called a dialogue model. They held separate focus groups first, and that revealed this critical blind spot.
The blind spot.
Yeah. Patients were apparently driven mad by itching. One described it as like millions of tiny ants crawling under your skin.
Oh, wow.
But the researchers, they hadn't prioritized it at all. They kind of saw it as just unavoidable collateral damage, and patients rarely brought it up, assuming nothing could be done.
So a total disconnect.
Completely. It was only when they brought everyone together in a multi-actor dialogue session, a
Nah.
carefully facilitated meeting with both patients and researchers, that the mutual learning actually happened.
And that changed things.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
It shifted priorities, making scar itching the second highest priority on their joint research agenda.
That's incredibly powerful. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other tiny ants are crawling under the skin of people in our organizations that leaders are just completely blind to because they haven't asked or haven't created the space to hear?
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for leadership more broadly? It wasn't just about the research methods they used, was it?
No, not at all. It was the collaboration, the mutual learning in that carefully facilitated session. That's what made it transformative.
Right. It empowered the patients, helping them articulate things they hadn't maybe voiced before.
Yes, and it profoundly sensitized the professionals to the immense value of that experiential knowledge. It changed their whole approach, really, from the ground up.
And this dynamic, it's mirrored elsewhere, too. You mentioned another approach.
Absolutely. It's powerfully mirrored in the human capacity for response approach HCFR described in another source.
HCFR.
It offers a really radical redefinition of the expert role. Instead of the traditional model where, say, a facilitator comes in and teaches a community, HCFR promotes facilitators acting more like a friend, asking questions, truly listening.
Like a friend. Interesting.
Yeah, the core idea is that the real capacity for response, for solving problems, it doesn't lie in the expert coming in to teach. It lies in the community's own inherent wisdom.
So tapping into what's already there.
Precisely. One facilitator, Toussaint, reflected on this shift. He said, "Now, I come as a friend, I sit and I ask questions. I let people talk, and I listen." It suggests that shedding that expert mindset, which can be difficult, right?
I imagine so.
But it brings this joy of sharing and a real appreciation of the community's strengths. And this fundamentally changes how leaders interact and influence. It fosters a more collaborative, less hierarchical environment where solutions can actually emerge organically.
That's a huge shift, moving from being the one with all the answers to being, what, a humble facilitator of discovery?
That's a great way to put it.
So, okay, this leads us towards practical tools. How can leaders use this understanding for their own development and to foster change in their teams, moving from mindset to action?
Right.
One concept highlighted is the Dynamic Learning Agenda, or DLA. What's that about?
Okay, so the DLA, at its heart, is a structured way to turn complex challenges into actionable learning questions.
Learning questions.
Yeah, it shifts your perspective. Instead of being stuck by a problem, you're actively learning through it.
How does that work?
Well, you formulate these questions, typically phrased like, how can I,
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. So say you're an academic researcher. A learning question might be, how can I, as an academic researcher, co-create tangible outputs that resonate with societal needs, while academic reward systems maybe don't acknowledge or value these outputs?
Ah, I see. So it reframes the problem.
Exactly. It reframes what seems like an external, maybe insurmountable issue into points of leverage for your own action. It fosters ownership, critical self-reflection.
Instead of just complaining about the system.
Yeah, right. It's about moving beyond that frustration towards active, collaborative problem solving.
And to make that kind of open reflection possible, whether it's for DLAs or just honest dialogue, you absolutely need the right environment, don't you?
You really do.
Our sources talk about the critical importance of safe spaces. And the example they gave of the co-creative reflection and dialogue space, the CCRDS at COP26, I mean, that's about as intense an environment as you can get.
It really is.
Yep.
And the aim of that CCRDS was precisely to create a space for deep encounters, for mutual learning, even amidst these deeply differing views.
How do they maintain that?
Well, they emphasized honesty, openness, trust. But the facilitators learned some crucial lessons, too.
Like what?
Things like accepting imperfection, it doesn't have to be perfect, bringing external disturbances into awareness, not pretending they don't exist, and having a dedicated bridge person to welcome newcomers and ease them into the space.
A bridge person. Interesting.
Yeah, all vital for maintaining that safe atmosphere. This approach actively works to overcome polarization, to foster respectful understanding, even in highly contentious settings.
It's about creating an environment where differences can be explored constructively.
Exactly, not just debated or dismissed.
Okay, creating these safe spaces is crucial. But it sounds like that's only one piece of the puzzle, especially when we talk about fostering true inclusivity.
Right.
Our sources suggest that even with the best intentions, trying to include diverse voices, well, it comes with challenges. Common pitfalls.
Absolutely. It's definitely not as simple as just checking a box.
What are some of those pitfalls?
Well, one common one is assuming that just having demographic representation automatically equals true diversity of thought or experience.
Good.
The source suggests it might be more relevant to consider differing levels of, say, trust in science or governance, or different lived experiences, different kinds of knowledge.
Beyond the surface demographics.
Exactly. Another pitfall is the one-size-fits-all approach to engagement. Well, it often inadvertently excludes more vulnerable groups. The solution, therefore, isn't to expect everyone to conform to one standard process,
What?
but to reach citizens or, in a corporate context, different employee groups on their own terms, building relationships, making adjustments to how you engage.
Meeting people where they are.
Yes.
And crucially, it's not enough just to have inclusive events or special initiatives, is it?
No, the source argues pretty strongly about this. If the organization's day-to-day work culture isn't fundamentally inclusive,
Then the impact is limited.
severely limited,
Yeah.
inclusivity needs to be woven into the fabric of the entire organization.
Huh.
In the physical spaces, the formal rule, the everyday practices, even the internal stories and narratives people tell.
Wow, that's deep.
It requires continuous critical self-reflection from leaders about their own organizational dynamics, their own unconscious biases.
Okay, switching gears slightly, but still related to new ways of thinking. Another fascinating insight was about artistic thinking in leadership.
Yes, the artistic thinking competence.
What exactly is that? Applying creativity.
It's more than just creativity. It's about applying creativity and intuition to recognizing patterns in complex systems.
Pattern recognition. Like an artist sees composition.
Sort of, yes. The expert proposing this draws parallels to jazz improvisation.
Jazz. How does that relate to leadership?
Well, think about jazz improv. It helps leaders navigate uncertainty, right? To redesign patterns in a fluid, responsive way, just like musicians riff off each other.
Okay, I can see that. It's not rigid.
Exactly. It goes beyond purely rational, linear thought. It enables what they call generative listening.
Generative listening.
Yeah, where you listen so openly that something entirely new can emerge from the collaborative interaction. It's about being open to unexpected insights, spontaneously co-creating solutions.
So really embracing that uncertainty and potential.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if a leader wants to embrace this kind of transformative learning, navigate complexity, use artistic thinking, what core competencies do they really need to cultivate?
That's a key question, and our sources delve into this quite extensively.
Yeah.
They talk about roles like reflexive facilitator and capacity builder, terms may be used for researchers, but equally applicable to leaders.
Okay. And the competencies themselves.
Key ones include systems thinking, seeing the interconnectedness of everything,
Right.
futures thinking, anticipating and shaping what might be next, values thinking, understanding your own core drivers and those of others,
Values. Okay.
and crucially, interpersonal skills, obviously, but also interpersonal competencies.
Intrapersonal.
Yeah.
Meaning within oneself.
Exactly. Things like self-awareness, self-regulation, but also self-care and resilience. Recognizing the emotional labor involved in this kind of deep, transformative work is really important.
You need to be well-grounded yourself to lead others through change.
You really do.
This definitely shifts how we might think about developing leaders, doesn't it? Even in traditional settings like universities.
Absolutely. The sources suggest universities could act as resonance spaces.
Resonance spaces.
Yeah, places to foster this kind of transformative and lifelong learning, moving beyond just transmitting knowledge.
So less lecture, more.
More experiential learning, or learning by doing, using approaches like problem-based or challenge-based learning.
Hands-on, real-world stuff.
Right. And there are tools, too, like the Frame Reflection Lab.
Frame Reflection Lab, what's that designed for?
It's explicitly designed to help develop interdisciplinary consciousness.
Helping people understand their own underlying assumptions.
Precisely. Their own values, their own frames of reference. Becoming aware of that makes individuals much more adept at navigating diverse perspectives.
And ultimately, it helps leaders move beyond those rigid expert identities.
Exactly. To become more adaptive, more open, truly collaborative. It's almost like learning to unlearn some things.
Learning to unlearn. That's powerful. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've journeyed through, the absolute vital importance of continuous learning. The transformative power of these transdisciplinary approaches, bringing different kinds of knowledge together.
Great.
And the specific tools and mindsets like DLAs, safe spaces, artistic thinking, self-reflection, all enabling these profound changes in leadership.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. From carefully facilitating those multi-actor dialogues, like with the burn patients,
Yeah.
to embracing artistic intuition and constant self-reflection. The path to effective leadership in this rapidly evolving world, it clearly demands a commitment to transforming not just our organizations, but really ourselves.
I think this deep dive really reveals that true leadership today, it isn't just about accumulating facts or skills anymore.
It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's about cultivating this dynamic capacity for mutual learning, for empathy, for continuous adaptation. It's about questioning our own assumptions, our own frames.
And being brave enough to let go.
Yeah, being brave enough to unlearn what no longer serves us or our teams or our communities, and opening ourselves up to the wisdom of all those diverse voices.
Finding joy in that shared journey, maybe.
Finding genuine joy in that shared journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So as you, our listener, reflect on this deep dive, here's something maybe provocative to consider. How might you, starting today, actively integrate something like a dynamic learning agenda into your own daily routines? How could you transform those moments of frustration, those roadblocks,
It's opportunities.
into opportunities for profound personal and collective growth? And maybe ask yourself, what old expert habits might you be ready to shed to unlock new possibilities for the future?